Hello and welcome to the Dailies. President Trump's Asia tour dominated headlines, spotlighting shifting trade and security dynamics. Globally, Hurricane Melissa threatened Jamaica with catastrophic damage, while rising Caribbean tensions over U.S. military buildup near Venezuela drew concern. In Argentina, fallout from Javier Milei's election victory fueled debate over economic instability and U.S. influence. We'll start with Japanese media, which framed Donald Trump's visit to the country as a key diplomatic moment focused on trade and defense cooperation with cautious optimism. Editorials stressed the need to strengthen the U.S.-Japan alliance while safeguarding Japan's strategic independence. The Japan Times frames the meeting between Sainae Takaichi and Donald Trump as a strategic relaunch of the U.S.-Japan alliance. Takaichi, drawing on close ties between Trump and her mentor Shinzo Abe, pledged a new golden age while juggling Trump's pressure for increased Japanese defense spending. The piece highlights the ceremonial pomp, indeed, and high security around the talks. 18,000 police officers mobilized, underscoring the symbolic weight of the summit. The report points out that while trade and defense were touted as areas of cooperation, analysts cautioned that Takaichi must navigate Trump's unpredictability and ensure Japan restrains or retains rather diplomatic autonomy within this partnership. The New York Times explores how Xi Jinping plans to use his upcoming meeting with Donald Trump to push for a softening of U.S. support for Taiwan. While Trump wants to focus on trade, Beijing seeks clarity on Washington's stance towards the island, hoping for language affirmation, non-support for independence, a symbolic but significant win for China. The piece says analysts warn that such statements could set lasting precedents. The Trump administration has already reduced some Taiwan engagements, raising concerns in Taipei. The analysis concludes that though Trump touts U.S. military strength, experts suggest he may make rhetorical concessions to gain leverage in trade talks. Taiwan, meanwhile, expresses confidence in ongoing U.S. support. International media widely reported on the Hurricane Melissa emergency as the Category 5 storm approaches Jamaica with 175 miles per hour winds, 40 inches of rain, and up to 13 feet of storm surge. The Washington Post reported on preparations as officials urged citizens to prepare and pray as the nation braces for catastrophic flooding, landslides and power outages. Airports, transport systems and businesses have shut down and shelters are open now nationwide. Matthew Capucci recounts in the Post his harrowing and awe-inspiring flight aboard the Hurricane Hunter aircraft nicknamed Kermit into the core of Hurricane Melissa. As the storm rapidly intensified towards Category 5 strength near Jamaica, Capucci joined a 19-member crew to collect critical data. The piece describes the turbulence escalation as they entered the eye wall. They pierced through 140 miles per hour winds before emerging into a 10-mile-wide, eerily calm eye, a striking stadium of towering thunderstorms beneath a moonlit sky. The warmth and silence contrasted sharply with the violent forces surrounding it. The Wall Street Journal examines Donald Trump's push to finalize multiple trade agreements during his Asia tour. Fresh off tariff deals with Malaysia and Cambodia, Trump seeks breakthroughs with key partners, especially China, South Korea, India, Japan, and also Taiwan. The analysis highlights that while Tokyo has agreed to a major investment deal and London quickly struck a 10% tariff pact, talks with Seoul, New Delhi face hurdles over investment terms and punitive tariffs. The piece contends Trump is banking on personal diplomacy to overcome these obstacles and cement his trade legacy amid domestic and also international criticism of his tariff strategy. It also cautions that the president's headline-grabbing announcements often lack operational detail, risking further delays and also diplomatic strain. The Economist examines United States Department of Defense's sudden deployment of the aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford and accompanying warships towards Venezuela, marking the region's largest naval buildup since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Ordered by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, the move follows controversial U.S. airstrikes on alleged drug smuggling boats, which legal experts say lack justification under international law. The analysis points out the Pentagon's objectives remain vague. Options range from pressuring Nicolas Maduro's regime through intimidation or limited strikes to potentially backing covert operations aimed at regime change. The piece contends such escalation could divert military focus from Asia and Europe, risk unpredictable conflict, and also destabilize Venezuela further. It concludes the deployment signals Washington's high-stakes gunboat diplomacy, but also leaves open whether it's a show of force or indeed a prelude to action. British media, while covering Trump's Asia tour, also focused on some local stories, some of which were quite shocking. The Times examines the alarming case of Hadush Kebatu, an Ethiopian asylum seeker and convicted sex offender in the UK, whose accidental release from His Majesty's prison at Chelmsford triggered a two-day manhunt and intense political scrutiny. It highlights that Kebatu, originally due for deportation, was released due to a human error rather than transfer, sparking condemnation from the Justice Secretary and also promises of an independent inquiry. The Guardian explains how Donald Trump's political and financial backing helped secure electoral victory for Javier Milei. Washington extended a $20 billion currency swap and intervened in also peso markets to stabilize Argentina before the vote. Also, charts and economic maps included in the piece trace dollar inflows, peso stabilization efforts, and inflation trends, showing short-term relief but deep structural fragility. Milei's libertarian experiment faces plummeting wages and also public discontent. Analysts warn Trump's ideological support is volatile, echoing historic U.S. meddling during other periods. The piece also concludes that while Milei gained a symbolic victory, his dependence on U.S. backing leaves Argentina vulnerable to shifting geopolitical interests and economic instability. And we'll end with the developments in the Middle East, which remained in focus. Israeli and Arab media reported the handing over by Hamas of an Israeli hostage's remains to the Red Cross. It also reported that Israel is working to ID the body. Palestinian media focused on a New York Times expose about the shooting of a Palestinian-American journalist back in 2022 in Jenin. The Palestine Chronicle commented on the New York Times investigation that reveals internal divisions within the U.S. government over the shooting. Though the official report labeled the incident unintentional, several U.S. investigators believed the IDF soldier must have known he was targeting a journalist. Maps and scene diagrams also in the expose illustrate the sniper's clear line of sight, the position of Abu Akleh and colleagues in marked press vests, and also the trajectory of precision shots. Charts and timelines detail the internal tug-of-war between Colonel Steve Gabavics, who argued the shooting was deliberate, and another senior official, apparently, who softened the language before publication. The piece concludes the revelations point to systematic U.S. favoritism towards Israel and deep policy rifts. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.